Hey guys, it's Tommy here with Pokey Accountant and welcome to another video. So today I have a really fun topic for you guys. It's about what Pokemon investors should actually invest in because if you've been in this YouTube space long enough, you know that every single video is screaming, buy this now, buy that now, buy this now before it's too late. And truth of the matter is, that's all the truth. But for some of our investors, for some of you guys, our budgets may not be as large to where we can buy every single thing and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and just buy things at a whim just because another person says it's a good investment. Today, I want to debunk some of that because, yes, everything in Pokemon is a good investment, but there should be priorities in how you're spending your money and how to be wise with your budget. It doesn't make sense for us who have $1,000 or $2,000 to invest the same way as someone who has $20,000, right? And so I just want to go over value investing. And in accounting, we call this value investing because we look at the different portfolios of different companies. We look at their earnings per share, their price per earning, their return on investment, and yada, yada, yada. There's lots of numbers and metrics we look at that help us to determine which item and which set is kind of worth your money. And today, let's go and talk about that. Let me go ahead and minimize my screen. So this is a little bit of an expansion of a previous video I did where I was kind of talking about budgets. If you remember a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, during the beginning of the year, I talked about 2026 budgeting. And I mentioned that, majority of you guys might only have like $1 or $2, $3,000 to spend on Pokemon. And if that's the case, you should probably be spending that money on things that are at MSRP. So if someone is telling you to buy an Evolving Skies booster box, it might not be the best idea because that's all the money that you have to spend on Pokemon in a given year. And I think, that Evolving Skies booster box could do tremendous, right? But there are other ways to also invest that money that can do better, or if not, return equal, similar returns for less risk, right? What's another way you can spend $2,500 in a year? You could buy a Destined Rivals booster box case, and if you did, that'd be it. You can go out and you can buy maybe like 20 Prismatic Evolution ETBs, right? And that'd be it. You'd be done for the year. What else could you do? Brilliant Stars is almost $600 now. You could buy 4 Brilliant Stars. You get 4 of those, and that's it. You're done for the year, right? So let's just go over what I consider good value investing. So I brought together and I put together a chart right here. As you can see, we have level 1 and we have level 2. I'm just going to go ahead and start us off at level 1. So the best bang for your buck item to spend will be Pokemon Center ETBs. And if you are like me, I work from home or I work in the office. So, I have at home, I have 2 phones, I have an iPad, I have 3 laptops, a bunch of technology, and when Pokemon Center queues queue up, I log on all of them. And similarly, when I'm at work, I'm an accountant, I work at the desk. I put PokemonCenter.com on my laptop, I put it on my phone, and I sit and I wait, and I try to acquire drops. So if you are in the category where maybe you are, around your computer or you're around devices a lot, this is probably the best bang for your buck investment that you can do in the Pokemon space. It's better than Evolving Skies. It's better than Brilliant Stars. It's better than Brilliant Shield. It's better than Sun and Moon. It's better than Destined Rivals. It's better than everything. It's just buying a Pokemon Center ETB at MSRP. And they are pretty much $60 each. For most of them, you can buy 2 for specialty sets like Black Bolt White Flare, or for like Mega Evolution, you were able to buy 1 of each, so still 2 in total. And I just gathered all of the releases, all the Pokemon Center ETB releases in 2025, and I put it together right here. So, there were a total of, it looks like 12 ETBs that you were able to get, or you know, you look at that, that is about 6 sets worth of ETBs. And if you had bought every single one of them, you would have spent $720. Of course, that's before tax. If you were to add tax, that rounds to a very nice $800. Okay? And you were consistent with it. And I don't want to say like buy the good ones and then you don't buy the bad ones, because when sets release, you just don't know what is good and what is bad. So it's really hard to tell. Okay? Let's see, market price. So if we look at the current market price at some of these MSRPs, you can see that Prismatic Evolution is at 332. So I use today's market price. Prismatic's at 332. Journey Together's at 140. It's like half of that, if not less. Destined Rivals also at 300s, 312. Black Boat's at 173. White Flare's at 144. Mega Evolution Lucario's at 164. Mega Evolution Gardevoir's at 145. Phantasmal Flames is at 177. And so I got the market price of all of them and what they're worth today. Let me just drag that over. So yeah, that's the market price of, you know, each one today, like per box. And if you multiply it by the limit, right, which is 2 or 1 each if there's like multiple, these are the total market prices. And, you know, of course you can get 2 if you can get 2, right? And here's the net return on investment. So the difference between the today's market price and the cost will be the net return on investment. So as you can see here, if you had bought and gotten every single Pokemon Center ETB drop, which is kind of unrealistic. I know sometimes we miss them, but you know, just for example, we would have spent $720, and today's market price would have been $2,500, which means your net return on investment using this ratio right here. Your net return on investment is the difference between market price and your cost. So $2,500 minus $700, you would have $1.8 thousand. So that's to say your $720 investment would have netted you a $1.8 thousand profit. So that would be your ROI. Your return on investment is 2.54. So every dollar you spent is generating $2.54. Of course, some of which being higher, like Prismatic Evolutions and Destined Rivals, right? And then we got kind of trailing that, we got Black Bolt, White Flare, we got Phantasmal Flames, and then, you know, the others are not performing as well, such as the Mega Gardevoir or the Journey Together doing the worst. But hey, 1.33 is still very good, guys. That is more than doubled your money. So your $120 of investment is worth $280 today. And I think that is phenomenal. And of course, we're not going to include taxes and like the cost of shipping, selling, and all that, because that applies to everything. It's not fair if we applied this to this and then not another item. It's just going to complicate things. So really, this is the best bang for your buck. Nothing beats this. And in terms of kind of long-term value, you know, like growth, like, yes, if I bought an Evolving Skies today, it would be $2.3 thousand, right? But how much would it take for that to 2x? It might take 2 years, right? It might take 1 to 2 years. And this you're getting immediately. Or even like a 4x. How long would it take, you know, Evolving Skies to go from 2.4K to $10,000? It might take a while. But as you see here, the $720 that you have spent, you've already made 4x your money in 1 year's time. That's why I'm saying this is the best bang for your buck. And there's a whole culture with like Pokemon Center ETBs. So until Pokemon decides to print more of these, and even if they did, I don't think they would ever print this to where they are, you know, worth MSRP and worth as much as what you can get from Target or like Best Buy. I don't think that will ever happen. And even if they did, you know, it would drop slightly, but the high demand sets will still be worth a lot. And it's just really hard to drag these prices down. I'm not sure how these will perform in a long term, since I think Pokemon Center stamped promos are still kind of a free, recently like a new thing, right? And these PC ETBs haven't always had it, so we don't know how this will perform in the long term. Will this market value 2x by the time Evolving Skies that you bought today would 2x? I'm not really sure about that, right? Buying it at the market value is very different from buying it at the MSRP, and I think that's the key indicator that I want to make. So going on to level 2, after you've kind of bought your Pokemon Center ETBs, what else are there? Well, we have booster boxes, and then we have booster bundles, right? So, Prismatic, there's no booster box, but they're booster bundles, so I kind of listed the same thing. What's the quantity? What's the MSRP? You can pick 2 of them up. Sometimes you can get 4, right? What's the cost per investment and today's market price? Same deal. Get to the net return on investment. So I did this for the same sets, Prismatic, Black Bolt, White Flare. So those were our booster bundle sets. While Journey Together, Destined Rivals, Mega Evolutions, and Phantasmal Flames will be our booster box sets. And so for these guys right here, you can see that the ROI is not as high as it was for the PCETB. So while that's why I recommend you get PCETBs first. While you look at these ratios, these are not as high because booster boxes are generally printed for a bit longer, and these are printed way more than I think the Pokemon Center ETBs, which is why it takes a while for them to go up, but they will go up, right? That's how Team Up is $10,000. That's how Evolving Skies is almost $2,500, or it was at one point. And that's how some of these boxes will also get to that $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 mark eventually, correct? The return on investment might not be immediate, but if you're picking these things up at MSRP, again, you're doing wonderful gains. Destined Rivals, of course, being the leader of this set with 1.5x your money, which is insane to think about, which is actually performing pretty equal to like the worst of the PC ETBs. So keep that in mind. That's why the Pokemon Center ETBs at MSRP are so phenomenal, and that's why there's a huge scalper issue. But again, if your budget is only $1,000 or $2,000, that's all you can spend on Pokemon in a year. This is exactly what you should be buying. You should be getting the Pokemon Center ETBs, and then you should be getting the Pokemon Center or the Pokemon vending machine drops for booster boxes, and other kind of items are, booster bundles are kind of worth that little bit of money. So as you can see, the ratios are a little bit lower, and even with the worst item, Journey Together, being released about 6-7 months ago, and it's only gone up 41%, which is, it's not great, it's not phenomenal, but hey, your downside risk is really low. And in the following year, right, we can see this kind of spike up. Your ROI is going to look really different in the future year, and your risk is very low. And another thing is, if you've picked these items up at such a low price, during any time during the peaks, you could have sold them as well, right? And so if you had sold them during the peaks, you probably could have generated a little bit more ROI, but that's not what this video is about. It's just about accumulating stuff. And if you have gotten every single drop right from Pokemon Center, you would have spent about $1,500 on just MSRP items. Now, of course, this is assuming that you can afford it. You have the ability to purchase it. Some of you guys, I know you work maybe a blue collar job, or maybe you work away from a computer, or maybe you just aren't awake during the time that these things drop, or you just don't have the energy and effort to get it. And fair enough. The next item that I want to go over with you would be some of the in-store drops. So we also have some like really phenomenal in-store drops that come out, right? And these are not Pokemon Center exclusives, but they are, worth a look, right? You can pick up these Prismatic SPCs for about $90 MSRP, and I'm sure you've seen the news recently. They're going to reprint these, right, at Best Buy and Sam's Club, and when that happens, you'll be able to buy this at MSRP again. So from $80 to $250. That is like a 3x on your money. It's a return of investment of 2, right? Because 240 minus the 90 would be like 160 roughly, and then 160 divided by your investment of 90. You'd be about like 2. So this is doing a really good ROI. And this isn't even considering like the long-term implications, because 151, you saw what those things did. These guys are here like $500, nearly $600, right? And I think this could do the same thing eventually and just kind of go up from there next in this year. So we'll see what happens. Another thing is worth mentioning, like Costco 2-pack bundles. You are able to pick these up for $60, and you get an ETB and a booster bundle, and it's worth $180, right? 3x your money. Prismatic Lucario, these were selling about, I think, 60 or 70, 80, and now they're going for like 126 again. Really good for the money, right? Costco 8 tins, same thing, $80, now worth 160. 2x your money. These 151 tins were selling for $35, and now they're 110. You would have like 3x your money. These Great Tux box worth 75, and now it's nearly 150, so almost a 2x, right? Heavy hitters, I'm not going to go too deep into these guys. Heavy hitters were $100 for 2 packs of these, and now they're going for 83 each. So you've nearly doubled your money. And that's just the advantage of buying at MSRP, right? Of course you already know that, but I really wanted to highlight that, like in quantitative numbers for you to look at using ratio analysis, using fundamental analysis, so you understand what is going on. So for those of you guys who really have a $1,000 to $3,000 budget, it's really easy to spend your entire budget just buying things at MSRP or vending machines, right? And if that's all you have, that's all you should be buying, okay? That's the most bang for your buck. Now, in terms of extra money, let's just say you're the type of investor who has, $5,000, right? So you bought everything at MSRP. Now you have an extra $2,000 to spend, or $2,500 to spend. Now you can start looking at the Evolving Skies booster boxes, the Sword and Shield booster boxes. Now you can look to picking up extra Scarlet and Violet. You can pick up, extra quantities of these because you really like Prismatic Evolution, or you really like Destined Rivals, or you really like Journey Together, right? And you just want to pick some more up. And there's even plays into Mega Evolutions that people are talking about now because they think it's a phenomenal set, right? So these conversations are had, and people are like, oh, I should pick up extra product, or maybe I should look back to Sword and Shield and pick up extra product of that. Once you've cleared levels 1 and 2 for your budget in the given year, now is when you can start beginning to look at level 3. Okay, and what is level 3 investing? Let me just go ahead and pull that up for you. So level 3 investing is when you start looking at the good products that are in the market, and you determine like, hey, I have extra money and I could pick one of these up, right? Like Evolving Skies. As you can see, it did 67% in the year. And so if you invested $1,366, it would have gained and made for you like about $800, $900, right? So it would have done 67% ROI, which compared to the PC ETBs, which compared to, the booster boxes that you bought at MSRP, it's like you're down there with the Mega Evolution, the Phantasmal Flames. Even the worst performing PC ETB did better than Evolving Skies. And that's why I'm telling you guys to spend your initial dollars on PC ETBs, because look, your $720 would have generated you 1.8K, right? And if you look at the Evolving Skies booster box, how long would it take for this at 2,300 to generate you 1.8K? It would have to be a $4,000 box, and that would take you way longer, and your starting capital would have been so much higher. But once you've bought your 1 product or your 2 product from Pokemon Center or wherever at MSRP, now this is when you move on to picking up extra stuff or more vintage, right? That's where this different level of investing comes in. Same thing with kind of Fusion Strike. You can see it did 90%, which is, hey, it did even better than Evolving Skies. Very cool. But, you wouldn't look into this product again. I'm going to show you all these. Lost Origin, 86. Brilliant Stars, 96. That's the surprise mover. 151 ETBs, 127. 151 UPC, 113. 151 Booster Box, 66. Paldean Fates Booster Bundle, 75. Crown Zenith ETB, 120. So Destined Rivals, right? This hasn't even done it. That's one of, if you want to pick up extra, now's the time too, because you're speculative that it would go insane in 3 years from now when it's out of print, right? Black Bolt ETB, they don't reprint ETBs often. Now you can have a chance to pick it up at 173, and maybe it'll go up from here, right? And this is where a little bit more of the speculative plays kind of come in, right? And that's where you see a lot of videos on the internet where people are telling you to buy this and this. They usually talk about buying this stuff without mentioning that you have hurdles to clear. Once you've cleared these two hurdles, right, buying things at MSRP, that's when you begin to look at some of these products that everyone is telling you to buy now. So if these were the boxes that you are buying now, and because someone told you buy Evolving Skies, you bought that, someone told you to get, a case of Crown Zenith, and you did that, and you've just blown through $5,000, right, and you have no more money to spend on these products, I'm sorry, but you've made a grave mistake. You've made a grave mistake. You should always focus on these products first. While scalping still exists in the market, while we still have this unequilibrium of demand being higher than supply for a lot of these sought after products, you should be going after them first. It is the best money for your dollar, and it's going to make the most returns. And especially in your initial year, if you would have bought, all of these products, and let's say you snagged it all, and you've only spent, $1,500, and you sold everything today, you would have $4,000. You would have made your money back, and you'd have an extra 2.5K. What would you do with 2.5K of pure profit? Well, you can invest 1.5K again into buying the Pokemon Center product this year, and you would have an extra $1,000 of profit that now you can start investing into level 3. So until you've made your way into level 3 and you've bought all these products, just don't worry about what all these YouTubers, what all these people are telling you to do. Just buy the things that are of great value and create great returns. And once you've done that, you can move into level 3. And you can also get a little bit more savvy with it. I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but you can start trading some of these products for some, level 3 products or older products, right? You can start selling them, like, maybe you might not want 2 of each ETB, right? Maybe you're good with just 1 because, you like displaying them like I do. And then so you'll sell 1 of each, and you can move that money into something else that's in level 3, right? Or same thing that goes on here, like you see that Journey Together has been a little dead and you don't like it too much. You can sell 1, you can move it elsewhere, but hey, you've generated profits already, and it's pretty good profits for half a year's work, right? So and those are just some things to do. And I'm not saying to go crazy and just start buying and selling everything, but those are the things I just kind of want to talk about. I don't think it's talked about enough in Pokemon. And, me having read all these financial books and read income statements on how to value invest into companies, I just thought the same thing applies into Pokemon. And as I did the research and I ran the numbers, surprisingly, it did. It did. You buy 1 of each Pokemon Center ETB, you are nearly tripling your money. You're nearly doing a 4x, actually. And for any box you buy to do that would take years. So while arbitrage still exists in this market, take advantage of it. I know I'm not helping to the scalping problem, but hey, if if there is an issue and Pokemon doesn't fix it, it will continue to be exploited where profits are available. And that's what I will continue to do. I will always start with level 1 and 2 and then move on to level 3. So I hope you learned a thing or two, and hopefully this video provided you some kind of insight to maximize your dollars spent in this hobby and to produce as much returns as possible, right? You're getting a good return on your investment. And if you are, and you made it this far, let me know down in the comments, what do you think is a good ROI, or what is your best ROI product this year? Don't forget to leave a comment, a like, and a subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tommy with Poke Accountant, and I'm signing off.